I'm buying a car tomorrow, and my brain has not been able to focus on anything else for days.
Oh my god. It's all Hannah talks about.
It's very annoying to everybody around me, including me.
Welcome to another episode of Midlight Crisis, a real podcast hosted by three grown-up biologists revisiting books from our teens, and it's totally cool. I am Sophie, one of your hosts who hasn't recorded a podcast in 2 months, but I have a randomly generated fantasy name for today, and that name, I'm going to say it with a straight face. It's going to happen. Okay. My name is Darful Potato Daughter.
Oh my god. Are you in Stardew Valley? Are you in a fantasy Stardew Valley farm?
I am.
Yeah.
My family is mostly Irish, so this
Yeah.
tracks.
Yes.
Oh, Darful Potato Daughter is like, she's such a jolly little character,
Right?
isn't she?
Just like a jolly little, I'm probably like a, what's the non-trademark? I'm like a halfling. You know, living in the off-brand Shire.
Yeah.
Yep.
What about you guys?
Oh man, I'm gonna join you here. So my name's Sam. However, today you may call me Gestu Unprecedented Eves.
Wait, sorry. Say that last name one more time.
Unprecedented Eves.
Uh-huh.
It's unprecedented. Okay, so to break it down, it's unprecedented Deves.
I think it's unprecedented Eves.
Yeah, that would make sense. Again,
just
I don't reckon the English.
I mean, as the person who put the words in there, I know I did that one in past tense.
Got it.
Because I thought it was very funny.
Unprecedented Eves.
Okay.
Just do unprecedented Eves. I liked mine better. It was funnier. No,
it is funnier.
Completely unprecedented Eve.
Yeah, I'm
in these uncertain times.
Isn't
like an Eve like by nature precedenting something?
Yes, but the Eve itself. Well, I guess the Eve is precedented by the previous Eve.
That's true.
But this one's unprecedented, so it's the first one ever.
I'll take your word for it.
The first Eve.
The first Eve.
I am the first Eve. I am Eve. Oh no, that would make me Lilith.
The Eve of Eve is Lilith.
Yeah. Because Lilith is the first Eve, and then Adam didn't like her, and so he cast her aside because Eve was a prettier bitch, and then Lilith became the queen of demons. Wahaha.
That's fine.
So says the many mythology things I've read. Also the Bible.
Lilith was probably more interesting anyway.
She has a really nice personality. My name is Hannah, but for the purposes of today's podcast, you can call me by my other name, which is Hamful Breadsword.
Wait, hamful or handful?
Hamful.
Hamful Breadsword. You're a character in T. Kingfisher's Defensive Guide to Baking book or whatever.
A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking.
That one.
Yeah, that's me. Hamful Breadsword.
Breadsword is such a good name. I love it. We got a potato daughter, we got a breadsword.
And an unprecedented Eves.
Oh, I love it. Oh, what a team.
What a team.
Amazing. Let's talk about the book we read, I guess.
So
we read 2 more chapters of Eragon. We all definitely remember what happened last time in the book, which was Eragon fought some Urgles.
Yes. Good job, Sophie.
Thanks. Yeah, why don't you guys tell us what happened in the 2 chapters?
Will gladly tell you what happened in Admonishments. Did I write that correctly? Yeah. Is it Admonishments or Admonishments?
I think it's Admonishments.
Admonishments. Okay, I did write it correctly. All right, chapter 19, Admonishments. Eragon and Braum have defeated the Urgles, but Braum is injured. So, Eragon loads him up onto Saphira and they head to make camp somewhere safer. Once settled, Eragon starts asking Braum about magic, to which Braum is a cranky pants and doesn't want to tell him much, though any sane normal person should expect a new person who discovers their magic will have a bunch of questions. Anyways, the chapter then finishes with our 3 companions going to bed. Yay!
Yay! Back to where we belong. In bed.
Ending a chapter with sleep.
Oh, I love it.
It's so good. It's so ridiculous. All right. Well, in Magic is the Simplest Thing, Braum is like, dang, it's annoying that you discovered you can do magic. But yeah, all dragon riders can do magic, actually, but shh, it's a secret nobody knows. He says also that it's rare that a young rider would discover magic on their own, somehow.
Yeah.
That is a fact. But Eragon has done it. So the rest of the chapter is a description of how the magic works and Eragon's first few practice sessions as he, like Luke Skywalker before him, struggles to levitate a rock.
Oh my god, I didn't even put that together!
Really?
Oh my god, I'm such a bad Star Wars fan. How dare I?
And that's in the movies I care about.
It is.
Yeah.
Dang. And Hannah, you forgot the most important part.
Oh, okay.
They go to sleep at the end of that chapter.
They do. Yes.
They do.
They do.
Several days later. But they do go to sleep.
Yeah. We gotta end that chapter with a good old bedtime.
That's the only way to end a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
We're also at the point of the book where Eragon has weird dreams that probably mean something.
Yeah. He dreams about Garrow and Roran and promises them, I guess Garrow specifically, that he's chasing down their killers. And Garrow says, "What? I'm not dead." And Eragon says, "Yes, you are." And then Garrow turns into a monster and says, "Then I'm gonna kill you." And that's basically the dream.
What I liked about that dream is Garrow and Roran are like, "Hey, can you help us fix the farm?" We shouldn't be talking about the very last thing first, but anyway. And then Eragon's like, "Sorry, you're dead. I'm hunting your killer." And like Roran's just like, "I'm right here." Like, I'm not dead.
Okay.
It's like, man.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Roran. Everyone just forgets about it.
Including me, apparently. It's fine.
Yeah, that's okay.
One thing I want to talk about from the beginning of Admonishments is Saphira shows up after the battle has concluded, and she is pissed.
Really what I wrote.
Yeah, she's so mad that she wasn't there, and also like kind of surprised and impressed that Eragon managed to kill Urgles without her, which is very funny. But when she lands, she's like super angry and hisses, and the narration says like she keeps her wings half raised, which I am sure is to signify that like she's about to, you know, take off and charge at any second. But all I could picture was that thing owls do when they're threatened, where they kind of like flip their wings upside down and like mantle them up behind themselves so they look huge and kind of spooky.
Get all poofy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yes. That's what I'm picturing.
That's what I'm imagining Saphira is doing in this instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote, Saphira conveniently shows up after the fact.
Yes.
And not conveniently for anybody, conveniently for the plot.
Yes.
Just plot convenience. That's all. That's the only kind of convenience in this book.
Yeah. It's very contrived.
Yeah.
I just had a moment where Eragon's like, right at the beginning, he's talking about like right after the fight, how he feels like he's like not in his body. And he noticed like his hands are trembling, but it doesn't seem like they're his. And I'm just like, man, all these people in fantasy times just having like traumatic dissociation for the rest of their lives.
Oh my god, right?
Eragon's just explicitly experiencing derealization. And it's like, well, good luck with that. You're 15 and you're gonna have to just keep doing this.
Soldier on, fella.
Yeah.
There's no therapy in Alagasia.
Yeah. Your dragon's your therapist, I guess.
She's not a very good therapist.
No.
She has a very wild side, I would say, after reading these 2 chapters.
Yeah.
She's very arrogant and almost like neutral good almost if you in terms of like D&D alignments. Where you can tell that like she has opinions about like what things are right and wrong, but you're starting to get the sense that they don't necessarily line up with human morality.
Yeah.
See, I would put her more as like neutral, I think, because the vibe I got was if there was a light and dark side of the Force in this universe, Saphira would very easily go to the dark side.
Yeah, I think she wouldn't care. She would just be she would be going back and forth.
Yeah. She'd be like, oh, you guys have cookies? You guys have a rat? You guys have a horse? Oh.
I almost feel like, I almost feel like she's lawful neutral because she follows her own code.
Yeah.
And she like sticks to it.
Yeah, that's the one, I think.
Yeah.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Look at us.
I always forget that lawful is one of the options.
Yeah.
Because no one wants to be lawful anything. Everyone's like, I'm chaotic.
Yeah.
True chaotic.
Like, honestly, I keep being annoyed that Saphira like says shit to Eragon like in this scene. She's like, wow, you did so well for like a baby or whatever. Whatever she says.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I was like, I hate like the Saphira is suddenly like the older, wiser mentor kind of thing. But then I think I've said this before, but I'm like, actually her saying things like, wow, you did so great for a baby is like the most teenage thing a human can do. So like Saphira is definitely a teen dragon.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's also a point, I think in the second chapter, but it relates to this, where she has become like way too visible, partly because she's big and partly because her scales are like so lustrous and shiny. And Brahm and Eragon try to convince her to let them like rub dirt on her scales so they're like dull and make her less visible. And she absolutely refuses. It's like, yeah, this is like an arrogant teen dragon who like thinks she's all that.
Yeah. My note for that is just like, is dirt gonna hide the fact that she's a fucking dragon? Like, no.
So,
like, absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. I guess, like, presumably it would make it so she doesn't glitter in the sun and catch people's eyes.
From, like, super far away.
Yeah.
They're in the plains. Like, they're like, people are gonna see a dragon.
People are gonna see them from 5 kilometers away.
Yeah. Whether they're glittery or not.
Yeah, because now Saphira is taller than the horses and much longer, which I thought she was already.
That's okay, I also thought. Because she was taller than Eragon.
Yeah.
And, like, a 15-year-old kid is, like, probably as tall as, like, a horse's shoulder, which is how I would describe horse height.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how you describe horse height, by their shoulder height. So, if Saphira's shoulder was taller than Eragon previously, she was already taller than horses.
Yeah, and I think they explicitly described her as taller than the horses before. So maybe he's just reiterating that point. Because it does say that her growth rate has slowed down, so maybe it's just like she was taller than the horses before. And now she is still taller than the horses.
But now she's longer.
Now she's longer.
He was, like, using it to say that she was bigger, though. So did he just kind of like forget what he did previously? Maybe.
Yeah, probably.
I feel like his tracking system of how big Saphira is probably not that great.
At this point, I honestly have no idea how big Saphira is. I was trying to keep track at first, and I'm like, I don't know.
It's gone by the wayside.
Well, and Brahm wraps his arm around her neck, so it's like, okay, she's much bigger than a horse, but has a much thinner neck.
Yeah.
I guess not a much thinner neck, but like her neck can't be thicker than a horse's neck. But it's also strong enough for her to lift Brahm using only her neck.
Yeah.
A mystery.
So confusing.
A mystery.
I mean, horses are pretty strong. If you've got the neck musculature.
That's true. A horse can yeet a person, like, can't they?
Yeah, because they have like that, their whole neck is just muscle.
So. Yeah.
Good point.
Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about the magic.
Okay.
Okay.
It's just a very funny section of the book. at the beginning when Eragon like realizes that he can do magic.
Yeah.
Because he's just sort of like, oh, yeah, I can do magic. Interesting. Like he's just like, gosh, I better not do more because I don't know the limitations or whatever. And I was like, that is more mature than like 99% of magic using main characters, because the rest of them would have been like, let's do more fire. Like immediately.
I would be like, let's do more fire, and I'm 29.
Yeah. Let's do it again.
Yeah, because he clearly hasn't connected that in this book, world, whatever, magic system. The idea is you say words to do magic, and then it pulls energy out of you, right? And so, like, if you say words for magic that's too powerful, it'll kill you or whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, Brahm has to tell him that. And so when Eragon makes the connection that he can do magic, he doesn't make that connection where he's like, oh, the reason I'm so tired is because I did magic. So like it's really wild that he doesn't immediately go Brazinger again, you know. like you just learned you can do magic.
That's what I would do. I would be like, let's try to get like that scene in I think it was the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man where he like stands on a roof and tries to make webs. Like that would be me if I did magic once. I would immediately go stand on a roof and just yell Brazinger into the air.
And go do magic a bunch.
Yeah.
If I was Eragon, I would have 100% started a forest fire by accident.
Right?
Like, no doubt.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this magic language stuff, because I thought that was interesting. Just, like, it's a very, it feels like a very common trope, the, like, language of magic trope.
Yeah.
And then I realized I couldn't think of any examples except the Orisha novels by Tomi Adeyemi, where they use Yoruba as like the language of magic, which is an actual real life language, unlike this one, which is just called the ancient language, but is taken from like a bunch of real languages. And I guess it's in Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea series, and that's where Paolini got his inspiration to do the same thing here.
Okay.
But it's, I don't know, I always find that like kind of a fun mechanic, that there's a language that magic specifically has to be done in. I guess like Harry Potter had spells, but
they all had like Latin derivatives, I feel.
They
but
did,
I guess in the sense, I'm trying to like think of other examples, but my brain is going.
Yeah, that's what happened to me too. I was like, oh yeah, I've seen this all over the place, and then I could only think of it one example.
Yeah, I mean, Darker Shade of Magic.
Oh, that's true.
Has the
they did,
magic words, yeah.
So this ancient language, Brahm explains a little bit about it. It is the language that, quote, all living things used to speak, but it was forgotten until the elves brought it back over the sea, which is like a wild linguistic etymology, but that's okay. And it's a language where the word for a thing is like the essence of the thing. Brahm explains it as like the word for fire is Brazinger or whatever, but it's not just a word for fire, it is the word for fire, and it like contains all of the essence of what fire is and whatever that even means. But it means that like knowing someone's true name in this language has like a bunch of power, because if you know the word for something, then you can exert magical power over it, and like you use the words as focusing components, I guess. Foci. You use the words to focus your intentions, and then you don't necessarily create what you have said. Like Brahm says that a true master could just say water and create something totally unrelated, like a gemstone. And you wouldn't be able to understand how he had done it, but the master would have seen the connection between water and the gem. It's like, yeah, okay. Sure. So yeah, I think like language-based magic is really interesting, but it's also very interesting that this is the elf language, despite it being like also the native language of Alagasia somehow, and that it's impossible to lie in this language, which is very fun.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of language as magic.
It's pretty cool.
It's good. I love it every time, no matter how overdone it is. Yeah, like the elf thing, I just assume that like, I don't think, because he said it's the language that all things spoke, so I don't think it was just Alagasia.
Yeah.
So the elves just kept it.
Yeah, I guess it's just strange to me that this language, I guess, is so basal that every living thing had it, but then it got lost entirely in one place and had to be reintroduced.
I assume it's just because elves are like so long-lived that their language doesn't change as much.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there isn't as much drift.
Yeah. If you're gonna live for hundreds of years.
Yeah. And like
no
if you
elf
assume
slang. What's Elvish for yeet?
Yeah.
Yeet.
Yeet.
It's anyone who uses it is like
yeeted.
Yeah, yeeted off the island, or wherever they live.
In a tree or something.
Yeah. So this is a fun fact about me, and it's that I almost went into linguistics instead of biology. I really like learning weird about languages, so I did like a little bit of a dive.
Ooh, go on.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, just like, because I love this idea of like a quote unquote like primordial language that like everything spoke. You know, like the original language. Sidebar, there's like, I'm just gonna blow past the part where it's a Mercedes Lackey book, but there where like one of the characters like gets the ability to like speak with all things, like all animals and everything, and she's like, oh shit, like, oh no, I'm gonna feel terrible about like having chickens, and then she like goes outside and the chickens are just like, hey, 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 hey. All they say is hey, so it's like no different from hearing the clucks. I think that's amazing. I love that.
That's very good.
So that's sort of what I'm imagining here. Like all things speak it, but the animals, they just say hey.
Hey.
Hey, hey, hey. So like there's the idea in linguistics. I don't know how, like I just am interested in it sometimes. There's like the idea of like a proto-human language, like the first language that humans spoke.
Yeah.
Which I guess would be sort of what this language is in Allegasia. And I don't know, I thought it would be fun to be like, well, does the timeline kind of match up? Because the history of Allegasia is like the elves there's no time periods for anything. But the two known things are that the elves returned to Allegasia in like 5000 AC, which I guess is after 0, and I don't know what year 0 is.
Okay.
When Allegasia came into existence, I guess.
Yeah.
And then like after Christ, you know Christ.
Christ, the famous dwarven man.
The famous dragon Christ.
Christ.
And then Eragon, current day, is like 8000 AC.
Okay.
So like roughly 3000 years later.
Yeah.
And Christopher Paolini has said that the ancient language, like it's basically just Old Norse and also stuff he made up.
Yeah.
So like Old Norse was predominant in our world from like 7 to 15 AD. What do we call it now? After?
CE.
CE, current era? Yeah, CE.
Yeah, current era.
Yeah. And then it turned into like the various Scandinavian languages now.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, plenty of time.
Yeah, sure.
But it also means that like Eragon probably wouldn't be speaking English. He'd probably be speaking like Icelandic or Norwegian or one of the Scandinavian languages.
I mean, that's fine.
Otherwise, the Allegasian like old language would be Old English, not Old Norse.
I mean, that would also be funny.
Yeah, I did, just for fun, look up what fire is in Old English.
Okay.
So we can just get a taste. It is Baal, B-A. It's like the A-E stuck together.
Oh, yeah.
And the A is capitalized.
Oh.
Anyway, that Old English thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And honestly, the only exciting thing about that fact is that it made me angry about the TV show Once Upon a Time, because there's a character named Balefire, which is just fire.
Fire.
Fire. Does he enjoy a nice chai tea?
He must enjoy chai tea. You have to.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Fire, and I like to drink tea.
I mean, Fire TT sounds like something that came out of our character generator.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. You know, sometimes you got a lot of characters, gotta use a generator.
Yeah, just like, what's this character's name gonna be? And then you put something in as a stand-in, and then it stays there, and you're like, oh no, I accidentally named my character Fire.
Yeah, I accidentally named my book The Book.
Yeah, as an example, that hasn't happened to anybody on this podcast.
That hasn't happened to anybody. And
Nope.
specifically not me.
Definitely not.
Anyway, that was my fun language stuff.
That is fun.
The only other thing is, at one point, Brom talks the truth to a bird, convincing it to like fly down and land on his arm. And he calls it like a feather blacka.
Yeah.
That's the word for it. And like feather, I assume, just means feather. And blacka in Old Norse just means black. So it's just like, black feather, come land on me.
I think blacka in the like Allegasia language means flapper.
No, even better.
Flapper!
Feather flapper.
Yeah, because I think the word for dragon is scale flapper.
Scale flapper.
I love that even more.
It's skull blacka.
Skull blacka.
It's like that meme of like marine animals, and it's like
Yeah.
stingrays are actually majestic flaps. That's the vibe it's giving me.
So good.
Yeah.
I would love, I mean, again, I'm just such a it's the same part of me that's like, wow, I would love for people to actually take evolution into account in their books. Me being like, I would love for people to take linguistics into account in their books.
Oh my god, I would never be able to write a book.
Yeah. I've said this before. Mercedes
Lackey.
Where there was like, over the course of her trilogies, you're introduced to like 3 different groups that later you find out are all originated from the same ancient group, and they all have slightly different versions of the same language, and it's so cool.
Was she a biologist, or like what's her background?
That's such a good question. I don't know.
That.
I know she's a wildlife rehabber.
Oh, so kind of.
Okay, so something.
That's where all the bird stuff comes from.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Anyway.
On the magic thing, though, what are our thoughts on how all the different magic users get or use their magic in Eragon?
My god. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I really want to talk about it.
Me too.
So I'll give everyone a quick summary, because I have it right here. So we have the sorcerers, which is the shades apparently, use spirits to accomplish their will, which is totally different from Eragon's power.
Totally different.
Totally different.
And then there's the magician, whose power comes without the aid of spirits or a dragon. Mm-hmm. And then there are witches and wizards who get their powers from various potions and spells. So, and then I think the dragon rider gets it from the dragon. So you have sorcerers who use spirits, magicians who use
nothing.
Yeah, they just have like raw magic,
I guess.
Okay, I guess they just have raw magic. And then the witches and wizards, which again, it's weird that there's magicians, which anyways, the witches and wizards get their powers from potions and spells, and then dragon riders get it from their dragons. Anyways, shall we?
Yes. Let's.
I just love when people like put in that all of these are different things.
Right?
Like, I just love it.
It almost, at this point in the book, I know it's still fairly early in the book and very early in the series, but it almost feels like at the end, I think it's in Breaking Dawn, Stephanie Meyer makes some comment about how real werewolves exist in this world, but it's never come up, so they don't talk about it other than like a one throwaway sentence.
Yeah. And she mentioned like witches one time.
Yeah.
In Twilight, and we were like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah. It feels like that, where it's like, oh yeah, also there's a sorcerer that has different kind of magic. Okay, anyway. It's like, wait, what? Excuse me?
Also, like, how, like, OP is a fucking magician. Like, everyone else has to use shit, and then Brahm's just like, or a magician who just does it. And it's like, what?
They must be super powerful, right?
Yeah. But then also the same thing though is like, how do they get it? But then it's like the wizards and witches using the potions and spells, isn't them using the dragons and the language also just like a way of using spells? I'm confused.
Yeah, how is a spell different from using a word in an ancient language?
Yeah.
I guess maybe it's where your magic comes from?
So you use a spell to create magic as opposed to using the ancient language to control magic?
I guess.
Maybe?
Maybe?
Maybe.
But then how does like a potion fall into that? Because don't you need magic to create a potion? And again, my potion making skills are just kind of coming from Harry Potter here, but I'm pretty sure you have to use a bunch of ingredients and spells combined.
Maybe in this world it's just ingredients. It's like a
Yeah.
recipe.
But then couldn't anybody just be a witch or wizard then? Which I guess falls into the same in D&D. A wizard is someone who studies a lot.
Yeah.
The sorcerer is the one who has the raw magic, and then the warlock has a demon, right?
Yeah.
But so could anyone just be a witch or wizard?
I guess.
You
have to
so.
find
I
one
want to
to
live in that
teach you?
world. I want to live in that world.
I want to be a magician. That's dope.
Yeah.
What do you think would happen if a magician became a dragon rider? Would they get double magic?
That's a good question.
Probably.
Or what if a magician becomes a shade? Well, we haven't been confirmed that the shade is actually a vampire, and we don't know how shades are made yet, but I'm assuming a shade is a vampire, so what if a magician becomes a shade?
Well, that would be like if a shade is a sorcerer, and a sorcerer gets magic by summoning spirits, which like seems like you need magic to summon a spirit. But if a magician summoned a spirit, do they then become a sorcerer, or are they a magician with a spirit?
What?
Okay, I had like a super actual real question at that. And I was like, does he mean like ghosts, or does he mean like alcohol?
Ooh.
Like, I actually don't know.
Oh, I definitely thought he meant ghosts.
I was assuming like demons.
Yeah, that's what I assumed too.
I guess that makes sense.
That is a good question though, because it could be just alcohol. It's true.
I do love that idea.
Because at the beginning of the book, all the magic we saw the shade do is he just like threw his hand towards the forest and then there was fire, and it's like that can be done with alcohol.
You don't even need magic.
Yeah.
You can just use some alcohol and a rag.
That's a great point.
Like, I'm just saying.
I love the idea that Eragon is going around thinking that like sorcerers and shades summon all of these demons, and it's just some like drunk guy going around like spitting fireball whiskey.
Yeah, they should be the magicians then.
Yes.
Okay, but then also like a sentence later, Brahm is like, you can't raise the dead. That will kill you. But like, the sorcerers are just tossing dead people around. Like, what?
I guess they're using ghosts, not bodies. It's not like necromancy.
Right, okay.
But isn't
Maybe
it still necromancy? Because you're still raising spirits.
Honestly, I assumed that the spirits were like non-people spirits. Like demons kind of thing.
Something.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, every time you say something, I'm like, you probably have a better knowledge of this series, so I'm gonna believe you more.
This part, I remember nothing.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure there's a witch that shows up at some point in one of the books, though.
Okay.
And she has a shape-shifting cat, maybe?
That's fun.
That's fun.
I, speaking to the don't do necromancy part, I just once, I would like one of these books to like not just like immediately lean into like the Christian belief of like, well, you can't reach past the veil, they're with God. I just want someone to be like, yeah, it's like super easy to bring someone back to life.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to like reanimate the body. It's really easy. It's like, but if you it has to be right after they die or something like that, you know, like I just want them to be like, yeah, it's just like a physical, you just have to get everything going again. Yeah.
It goes on to that whole, there's like a whole scientific theory on it, on how souls have mass and once when you die you lose, it's like, I don't remember what it is, but like everyone loses the same amount of mass when they die or something. And
it's like 21 grams or something.
Yeah, that sounds right. And then so it's like, it would go into that theory. It's like, yeah, if you're able to catch that matter like right when they die, you could in theory reanimate them or whatever, but then
so you have to stand over a dying person with like an umbrella that will like catch the spirit as it raises, and then you have to like siphon it back into the body.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny.
That's what your soul is. Your soul is that 22 grams of unknown matter or mass that you lose. And so to necromancy someone back, all you gotta do.
I need to clarify. That's not real, right?
I don't.
The 21 grams, that's not real. There's been a Sawbones episode about this. It's not real.
No, it's just like one of those like conspiracy things. The reason I know it is because Dan Brown wrote a book about it, so you know it's not real.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I more was saying it in the sense of like people have tried to science death.
Yes.
And so like it's going into the like the fact that like, yeah, if you put it into a book, you get a more like realistic or that's why I brought it up, sorry.
Yeah, that's what I figured you guys were saying, but you both were just like, yeah, the 21 grams thing, and I was like, hold on, everyone stop.
It's like,
yeah, no
we can't just say that's a real thing.
That's actually fake.
That is true, but there are people out there who
tried to science the weight of a human soul.
Yes, and that's where it comes from, and it was in the Dan Brown book, The Lost Symbol. That is how I know about it. You know it's not real because Dan Brown.
He takes things that were kind of something that someone did once, and then he's like, now they're real.
Exactly.
We've done it.
Yes.
But like you said, Sophie, it would be very interesting to bring that more non-Christian or non-religion aspect of death into like a fantasy story. Because I think every religion has, I don't think it's necessarily a Christian thing. I think every religion has like an after death thing, like more like you're in the afterlife. Yeah. So I feel like it's more just like a non-religious way of dealing with death, which I don't know how that would be done.
Yeah. True. There is like a sort of underlying belief that necromancy is bad.
Yeah. Everyone, leave the dead in their afterlife. It's probably better.
Bring the dead back.
Yeah, just
everyone kind of agrees to not bring dead people back.
Yeah.
It is very that thing in particular, and then also the discussion about how like the magic takes out of you as much energy as you need. I was like, this is very like Full Metal Alchemist love equivalent exchange.
Yeah.
It's like you can't bring the dead back to life even if you create a homunculus with like the exact chemical composition of a body.
Sometimes you just end up with a girl-dog combo. And then what are you gonna do? Anyway.
So human transmutation is taboo, and bringing people back from the dead is that. Brom does say that like if you try to do that it kills you. What if that's how it worked?
Yeah, like the person comes back to life, but you're dead
then
now.
You're dead.
It's equivalent exchange.
It is equivalent.
That makes sense. I'm like, usually the whole thing is you can't bring another soul without payback. So it's like, yeah, you die, but the person's back.
The soul goes into your body because it's the like alive functioning one. Their body is like decomposed or whatever by now. That would be
I feel like that would because that would be like, oh, the toll is that they have to go back into their rotting body.
Ooh.
You know, that would be the
But it already killed you, so that's the toll.
No, there's 2 tolls.
There's 2 tolls? I don't know. I like my idea of
you just die.
Somebody comes back to life and they're like, oh god, why am I in John? It's funny. Yeah, at least it's funny to me.
Oh, it is.
Spoil a book right now that I really want to talk about.
Oh, man.
I was gonna say, I feel like I've read this in a book before.
No,
I haven't.
I
thought I was being
very
clever.
familiar, but I can't think of the name. I feel like Sophie's inching towards a book that
neither of you have read.
Yeah.
Oh. The other part of this magic thing I wanted to talk about was, okay, first of all, you mentioned this, but it's wild that they don't tell new riders that they can do magic.
Yeah.
First off. And then second off, the way they teach them to do magic is just infuriate them until they do magic.
How up is that?
Like they don't even, like, he is explicitly like, yeah, we don't tell them they have magic, but then we just make them do obnoxious tasks until they start doing magic to solve it. It's like they don't even know they can do magic.
Right?
It's so wild that these like apprentice riders can live with all of these like magic doing adult riders and just like never notice.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Brom is like, wow, so few riders ever learn they can do magic before we tell them. And I'm like, Brom, you literally did magic in front of him.
Right?
Yeah, that's crazy. But also, the way they teach them how to do magic is exactly the art installation, I Can't Help Myself, that like went viral on TikTok last year, of that robot that like tries to sweep the like red fluid into itself as it's like it's this robotic art installation called Can't Help Myself by Sun Yuan and Peng Yu. And the whole point of it is that it has this like red fluid that is like leaking out across the floor, and the robot is programmed to try to keep as much of this fluid as possible in like a predetermined area around itself, but there's too much fluid. So it just constantly is like trying to sweep this fluid back towards itself, and the fluid is constantly leaking out, so it's like a perpetual thing. It's never going to accomplish the task that it has been programmed to accomplish. And apparently it has been like slowing down because it's been in existence for like 5 years, and like the servos and stuff are slowing down. So it's like having an even harder time like keeping up with the creep of all of this fluid outward. It like looks like bloodstains, and the robot like looks all dejected. And it's like it went viral on TikTok, and then it ended up on Twitter because everything ends up on Twitter. But it's exactly the way that these people try to teach their like teenage wards how to do magic, is give them an impossible task until they're so broken down that they have no other choice but to like use magic.
You know what fantasy needs? Fantasy needs more therapists to tell adults that this is not okay.
Yeah.
It's such a wild way to teach someone.
I do just need to say, when I saw that art installation on Twitter,
Titter.
I did look it up, and that's not what it does.
No, like it's trying to like keep the liquid within a predetermined area, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's not hydraulic fluid. Like it's not what keeps it running.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of stuff going around on social media that like it needs it to keep running, but it's not. It's just trying to keep it in a specific area.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like about authoritarianism.
Yeah.
And border movement. Like it's supposed to be like, it's not for I don't know. I saw it on Twitter and was just like, this seems wild. And then it was like, that's not what it is at all. Like someone just said this one time.
Yeah.
And that's not what it meant to be.
It looks like it's trying to frantically scoop blood back into itself.
Yeah.
Which is like real upsetting. Yes. I don't know where it is now. Is the thing. Like, it was commissioned for the Guggenheim in 2016. It was in Italy for a while. I could not figure out where it is now. So if anyone knows, let me know.
Oh, I thought it was still at the Guggenheim. It's on their website.
It is on their website. And, like, maybe it went to Italy and then came back.
Okay.
But I don't know. I know it was in Italy in 2019. But I thought this was, like, a new thing, because it, like, just popped up on social media recently. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that new art installation. And then I looked it up, and it's like, this thing is, like, 6 years old. Yeah. It's not new.
And it has nothing to do with like the human psyche.
No.
Anyway. It's
called Can't Help Myself. It's by 2 Chinese artists, and it's more interesting than Twitter makes it seem. So go check that out.
I mean, the concept on Twitter was like very interesting. But I'm like,
that's true.
If that's incorrect. What it had been about.
Yeah.
Anyway.
These kids somehow never find out that they can do magic until they get frustrated into doing magic. But if you do magic wrong, it'll kill you, which seems like a really dangerous way to teach your children how to do magic.
Also, like, hold on. Aren't some of the writers elves? And elves just speak the magic language, and the elves know magic. So, like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Like, it makes sense that they would try to hide the fact that they have magic from the rest of the world, which Brahms says that they did. I don't really know how they managed that, but I guess maybe we'll find out. But to keep it secret from themselves is, like, wild.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't make any sense.
Get it.
I'm sure we'll find out more. Brahm mysteriously knows how to do magic somehow.
Yeah.
We don't know who taught him.
Probably a magician.
He's probably a magician.
Maybe he's a sorcerer.
That would be fun.
I mean, he could be a wizard too.
Maybe he's a witch.
Could be. Maybe he's a witch.
Maybe
he's just secretly making potions this whole time.
He has to use Brazinger to light the fire to make his potions. I also like how we've decided that the pronunciation of the fire word is the same as the prank word from the Big Bang Theory.
Oh, Bazinga?
Brazinger.
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 Yeah.
Brazinger.
All the same intonations.
Yep. Brazinger. Definitely how Christopher Paolini intended that word to be pronounced.
I believe it.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Sam.
Yeah?
How would you say the words that are used to make the stone levitate?
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask me about the bird one. Okay, wait. Let me.
I didn't even read that. I skipped over it.
Oh, the stern.
Yep.
Stern. No, Stern.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Nailed it.
Stern Resia. I don't know.
Sure.
Me neither. It's not in any of the pronunciation guides.
Yeah.
Hey, so Sam probably nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
I think I would have said like Stenor Riza, but like that's certainly not right either.
It's definitely you're supposed to not put as much emphasis on the NR together, but I don't know how to do that.
Me neither.
Yeah, that's like my tongue can't handle it. It's like, yeah, no.
Maybe you're supposed to roll the R's? Stenor Riza.
No. Sorry, can you do that again?
I can't roll my R's. I'm a horrible Brazilian.
Yeah, what's your excuse?
I literally have none. I am so Latin except for the fact that I cannot roll my R's.
Alas.
Damn.
That means stone rise, and if you say it at a stone hard enough, it makes it levitate, apparently.
No, you have to dig up some kind of thing in your brain first.
Oh, yeah. Ooh. There's, like, very much a trope in fantasy of, like, people accessing, like, different parts of their mind or whatever and, like, using the force, that kind of thing. But the way it's described in this book is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I did not like it.
Yeah. Yeah, the way it's described is he found only thoughts and memories until he felt something different. A small bump that was a part of him and yet not of him.
A wart.
Excited, he dug into it, seeking what it hid. He felt resistance, a barrier in his mind, but he knew that power lay on the other side. He tried to breach it, but it held firm before his efforts. Growing angry, Eragon drove into the barrier, ramming against it with all his might until it shattered like a thin pane of glass, flooding his mind with a river of light.
Like, what
Just not
the f***
good.
is that?
Yeah.
Oh.
I guess it's like trying to imply that it's something that appeared
Yeah.
recently with Saphira, I guess.
Yeah. Honestly, I know Eragon isn't a funny book, so this wouldn't happen. But when he said that he, like, felt a barrier in his mind and, like, kept trying to push it, I was expecting Saphira to just be like, stop, that's me, like, leave me alone. And him just be like, oh, oops.
Oh, sorry.
That was the wrong bump in my brain.
In my brain.
What if it's all just a brain tumor and he's imagining everything?
Oh no! Eragon, no!
Oh no, Eragon.
Uh-oh.
It's like the Pokemon theory. That, like, the whole thing is just a hallucination while Ash has been in a coma after getting struck by lightning in episode 1.
Yeah,
oh my God.
I've heard that theory. That's why he never ages and he's still just a kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The evidence is piling up.
Oh man. Compelling.
Okay, on this same page, there's another thing about the magic that I was just, okay. So Brahm's like teaching Eragon the ancient language or whatever it's called. And he's like, yeah, from there on, he instructed Eragon in the ancient language. And it's like, he taught him the word Vonder for a thin, straight stick. And to the morning star, Idol, or whatever. It's just like, what the magic are you going to do on a star?
That's what I thought, yeah.
Like, you're like, I'm going to snuff that star out.
But Brahm also said that if you try to do magic on something that's too far away, it'll burn you out faster.
Yeah.
Nothing is further away than a star.
Yeah.
Funny.
In Alagasia, stars aren't as far away, guys. They're right there.
Yeah. They're actually just fireflies.
Wow.
Just multiple suns, like Tatooine.
Wow.
They're really big. Yeah. If the morning star is like,
the sun.
Visibly the size of your hand in the sky, then maybe.
Yeah.
Even that's pretty far.
That's still so far. Brahm said that if something is a league away from you, you should wait until it gets closer. I feel like, and I'm not an astronomer, but I feel like the sun is more than a league away.
Yeah, maybe we should check with an astronomer first.
Yeah.
Maybe.
If you're an astronomer, let us know.
Let us know. Tell us how far away the sun is.
Can you do magic on the sun if you know its true name?
If you're an astronomer, please tell us. Can you do magic on the sun?
Pretty please.
I guess we should maybe ask an astrologer. They might be more qualified.
Yeah, they probably know more about magic.
Astrology.
Oh god. What sign is Eragon, do you think?
I don't know enough about astrology to accurately guess that. I only know my own very well. And my boyfriend's. That's it.
Oh. I'm a Libra, which means that I don't believe in astrology.
Oh, I do. Libras are supposed to be very balanced. That's all I know.
You've met me. I am so unbalanced.
Yeah, you're actually very opposite to my father, who is also a Libra. My dad is a very stereotypical Libra. He's just like just avoids confrontation, like very neutral in all situations. Like,
apparently Libras are supposed to be like outgoing and judicious and like able to understand different perspectives.
Yeah, all things that I would describe Hannah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Hannah, I love you, but no.
What, you don't think that I'm like flexible and empathetic?
I mean,
those are the two traits that people most associate with me, is being patient and able to go with the flow.
Again, I love you, but I did work with you, and I did know days that I did not approach you for help.
The subtext then, they're not saying because they're nice, is that I'm a terrible person to be around.
You're not.
Not if we just follow the plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
My pitch is that Eragon is a Virgo because the Virgo birthstone is a sapphire.
Okay.
It's right there. Saphira.
Yep, you did it.
Was born to him.
Okay, but now what are the traits of a Virgo?
I should know because I am a Virgo, but I don't know them.
I know Jenna Marbles is a Virgo, and she likes things to be organized and is detail-oriented.
But also chaotic.
Okay, let's look. I'm on allure.com. Don't know anything about it, but
I can't believe we're doing this.
So,
what astrological sign is Eragon?
Virgo is an earth sign. All right,
Sure.
so Eragon's giving me
I feel like he's got to be a
vibes.
fire sign, right? Because he has a dragon?
Yeah.
Or an air
He's
sign?
got lightning. Isn't his like, I thought, no, it's
yeah,
just
his fire is blue.
No, that's the blue dragon we fought in D&D this week.
Yes. Oh my god, that was scary.
Okay, so Virgos are logical, practical, and systematic in their approach to life. They are perfectionists at heart and aren't afraid to improve skills through diligent and consistent practice. Virgo rules the digestive system, which makes these earth signs especially attuned to the ingredients that make up a whole in food and everything else. They are hyper aware of every detail. Sophie, this is nothing like you.
Yeah. No, I am hyper aware of every detail.
I was going to say, actually, yeah. And I was going to say, are you a perfectionist?
Yeah, but only in the annoying ways.
You are very logical and practical and systematic. Yeah, okay. But there was the ending part that I was like...
Yeah, I don't know that I would describe Eragon as any of those things.
I feel like practical very much.
Yeah, true. I don't want to do this anymore.
Aww.
Okay, I do like the idea that Virgos are dominated by their intestines. Do you think there are... Has anybody done a study on like whether people with like IBS or like Crohn's
are mostly Virgos?
Mostly earth signs?
That's just...
I mean, like, I have probably the least amount of gut distress of any person that I know. So honestly, I don't know that tracks.
So maybe you have the least because you're so aware of your intestines. Your intestines are like on point.
I mean,
I just never have to think about them, which honestly I'm realizing is a blessing.
Yeah, you probably realized that through living with me, haven't you?
I wasn't gonna say it, but
has to be hyper aware of how much fiber, lactose, and sugar she consumes on a regular basis.
Oh god.
Me.
I get like one of those, ketchup packet size amounts of sour cream to add to our dinner, and I'm like, I don't know if this will be worth it for Sam. I'm like, I better check.
I usually will take the bullet for myself, but anyways, I don't want to go into the details of my gut issues right now.
This doesn't need to be on the podcast. What's happening?
How did we get here?
We've forgotten how to podcast. Okay.
I don't know, but I have a question before we go off to the books. Okay. So I have the map of Allegasia up, and So they started off in Carvajal, and I don't know where they are right now in relation to that, because this map doesn't have you what was the last place they were at? Udavec or
Yazuak.
Yazuak.
Anyways, but in one of the chapters, Eragon has a thing where he's like, I don't know any of the plants around here because none of them are similar enough to Carvajal. And I was just like, have they moved that far?
They have not.
Okay, thank you. Because I was like, literally, I thought I was going crazy. I was like, they cannot have moved that far in what, like 5 days, 6 days, in which the foliage and foliage. Oh my god. In which the plants and animals and everything is completely different.
Yeah. I mean, they are in a different biome. Like, they're not
That's what
in
I
a
was
mountain.
gonna say.
Well, that's what I was
But
like
still.
also. But then how small are the biomes? And then I was like, okay, well, we don't know the size of this planet, and it could be that, like,
Oh god.
if it's see, I went I went on this like deep dive because then I was like, hey, what's the average range of a species? But then I was like, that's not necessarily accurate because it could be slightly different in soil pH and da-da-da. But I'm like, I really don't think they've moved that far away that he wouldn't have any idea of any of the herbs or plants growing there. Like,
but they did like walk down a cliff.
They
like
did.
that took
and
them
like
like
across
a whole
a
day.
prairie. They've been on a prairie for like a week.
That's why I was like, okay, maybe it's justified, but I still feel like
in like different elevation. Yeah. I like it seems kind of justified, but also it's like there's got to be some plants in common. It's not like you go from like Cape Breton to the south shore of Nova Scotia and there's no grass anymore.
Well, that's it, right? Because I'm like,
but have you ever crossed from like Ontario / Manitoba, like prairie? Like it's like an hour, and then suddenly you're in the prairies.
That is a good point. So it could just be something like that, I guess.
That's sort of what I assumed.
Yeah, that is a good point.
Yeah, it's a different biome. Like, I can justify that.
Yeah, it is sort of weird that there's no mountains, though.
If you look at the map, there's mountains to the south. The spine is all mountains.
Yeah, Carvajal is, like, in the mountains.
Yeah, but I don't know where Yazuak is, because they didn't label Yazuak on this map. Also, this map doesn't have a scale on it, so I have no idea how big this is. So I can't guess how big their planet is, and so I don't know the size of their biomes, but I was just distressed that he knew nothing.
No, I thought the same thing. I was like, what the hell? How far did we go?
Right?
Not that far.
Okay.
But, you know, I guess the prairies can do that.
That's true. I did forget about that Ontario-Manitoba switch. It does happen very fast.
It's
that
so
is a good
fast.
point.
Like suddenly you're in the forest.
It is a very good point.
I haven't seen trees for 3 provinces.
Yeah, it's all of a sudden trees. Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
Anyways, but that was just what I wanted to bring up.
A valid critique.
I want to propose that we circle back for a minute. And you guys can tell me if this is a good idea or not.
Look at that corporate language.
I know, right? I work in an office now.
Circle back around.
Circle back around.
Work in an office?
Oh, no, I work in my bedroom.
I thought you worked in your bedroom.
Listen. I found a quiz on brainfall.com called What Zodiac Sign Am I Really? Can we do it for Eragon?
Yes!
Get tea.
It's only 10 questions. It'll be fast.
One of them's gonna be, what time of year were you born? And we're gonna be
see.
like, I don't know.
Okay, we're gonna do it. You can go get tea. What role do you usually take on in your friend group? The mom friend, the leader, the practical friend, or the peacekeeper?
Practical is
practical
Eragon.
for sure,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, next. Breeze through this. You have a major project at school or work. What is your approach? I stay straightforward and direct. I don't want to complicate things. Probably that one.
Yeah.
I try to make it as stress-free as possible and make sure anyone I'm working with feels comfortable. No. I think positively about all ideas. Absolutely not. Or I just buckle down and do the work. It could be that one.
I think the first one.
I think the first one.
Yeah, I think the first one too. Yeah, the first one.
Okay. Question 3. Which of these words describes your personality best? Nurturing, hardworking, passionate, or diplomatic? Hardworking?
Hardworking?
He's not nurturing or diplomatic.
He's not really diplomatic.
He's not passionate. He doesn't give a shit about anything.
Yeah, hardworking.
Okay. Your friends are fighting. What do you do? Join the fight. Help them talk it out. I don't take sides and try to comfort them. Or I pick a side internally but don't actually do much to get involved.
I think he joins the fight.
I think he
right?
joins the fight.
I was gonna say the fourth one, but I could see him.
I could also be the fourth one.
We can go the
when
first
he's
one.
older, he probably does
Yeah.
the fourth one.
Yeah, but right now he joins the fight.
15. You know how when your zodiac sign changes when you turn 25?
Yeah. Ooh, okay. Yeah. This one is fast and easy. Which of these weaknesses do you possess? I'm non-confrontational, I have a temper, I overthink things, or I'm overly sensitive. He's got a temper.
Yeah, temper.
Okay, Eragon caused a fight with someone. Or something, I guess. Yeah. What do you do? Fighting? I don't fight. I was being stubborn. I snapped at them, or I was overly sensitive and took something the wrong way. Stubborn. Which of these strengths do you possess? I'm creative, I'm optimistic, I'm passionate, or I'm compassionate.
Wait.
I guess this time we can say he's passionate.
Yeah, or creative, like he did
figure out a way to get Garrow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really call him any of those, to be frank, but creative's probably the closest.
Close enough. We'll go with that. We can do this test again later and see if it changes. Okay, what is your pet peeve? When people are unnecessarily mean, when things are overly complicated, when things are not up to my standards, or when people fight unnecessarily? Overly complicated based on this chapter, right? Like, he gets really mad about magic being hard.
But Brahm's also being like...
Brahm gets mad at him.
And like, yes, Brahm is like also not helping at all.
No.
I mean, I would argue unnecessarily mean because he's on a revenge quest for people who were unnecessarily mean.
Yeah, but
murdered a bunch of people.
I feel like murder does not fall in the category of unnecessarily mean.
I would argue it does.
Yeah, I think my vote was the third one.
Yeah, when things are not up to my standards, I can see that.
Yeah, because he seems to like things a particular way.
Sophie, you're being overruled.
No!
What personality trait do you find important in friends? Decisiveness, flexibility. That's the one you guys want, right? You need your friends to...
All my friends have to be flexible.
Directness or empathy? And his friends. Probably directness, right?
Directness, yeah.
Yeah.
And last question. What are you like around new people? Sweet but a little reserved, kind but direct, kind of closed off, or very friendly and enthusiastic?
Kind of closed
off.
Yeah. Okay, let's find out what zodiac sign Eragon is really.
See, the problem is now we're going to have to read about whatever sign it is.
I'm sure they'll go... Oh. Eragon's true zodiac sign is Aries. He is passionate and self-assured. He's a fire sign. He is straightforward and has a temper, but makes a great leader.
Sure.
I mean...
That's the one I was gonna say when we were talking about it, but it's because I only know what 3 of them are, and one of them is Aries.
Yeah.
Aries, Leo, and Scorpio are the fires. I mean, I'm technically a fire sign, but I'm also technically a water sign, so who knows?
You're steam.
Yeah, I'm steam. I'm literally right on the day where it switches, so I'm both.
Yeah, so anyway, conclusion to this very long section, astrology is dumb.
Yeah,
we solved it.
We solved it. Eragon is Aries.
You know what? Now that I think about it, Saphira is probably the Virgo. That makes more sense.
I'm a Virgo.
I'm a Virgo.
You
put those words back in your mouth. Anyway.
Oh boy.
We're not going to just quote Jenna Marbles for the rest of this episode.
It's just for men and Jenna.
We're done.
We're done.
So let's talk about
this.
Okay, the next 2 chapters, I wrote them down, are called Dare It and Through a Dragon's Eye. Dare It, they mention at the end of the last chapter being like, that's the next town.
Yes, it's a place.
Oh, I forgot that already. Love that.
So they go to the next town.
I'm guessing they go to the next town.
And then I'm guessing in the second chapter there's some sort of magic where he can connect to Saphira and look through her eyes.
Yeah, that's also what I was gonna guess.
Yeah.
I agree.
Cool.
Great.
I think that's it.
Amazing. Okay, now let's talk about what else we're reading.
Yeah.
I thought, okay, so we've alluded to it. It's been a really long time since we've recorded.
Yeah.
I thought it would be fun, like, maybe do some shout outs of some books we've read in the last 2 months, as well as what we're currently reading, just because, you know, we read a lot of books.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll go first. My shout outs, I think I had started reading Under the Whispering Door in the last episode. I finished it. It was incredible. And then I also read, the other big one was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo.
yeah.
Incredible.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, I read a couple Taylor Jenkins Reid. Yeah, really great. But Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, really good. But then I wanted to shout out like a book that isn't super popular that I read, which was The Last Chance Library. It was like a cute little book about someone trying to save a library from, you know, going under.
Going under, yeah.
You know, it was like a cute little book. So
Nice.
I like that. And then I'm currently reading The Seven Endless Forests by, oh man, okay, let's see if I can get this last name right. April Genevieve Tucholk?
Sure.
Great. Who knows? And I guess technically I'm also reading a book for my project called Marine Hard Bottom Communities, Patterns, Dynamics, Diversity, and Change. So yeah.
Wow.
Really exciting, and I'm definitely going to read all of it and not just the parts that are relevant. What about you guys?
Oh man, I have read 18 books since we last recorded. So my shout outs go to, first one is called All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christine Lynn Herman. It's basically if the Hunger Game was with magic and with 7 families warring over the chance to get magic.
Dang.
It's a bunch of actually, they're not super morally gray, but it's like a bunch of teenagers like figuring their shit out and like basically leading their whole lives knowing they're going to be going into this tournament of death. So it's really interesting. I liked it. It was good. That just came out, so that is a new release for anyone interested. And then my next shout out goes to Verity by Colleen Hoover. This book is very hyped all over Book Talk, like all over Instagram, and it deserves all of the hype. It is wild. Like, it still keeps me up thinking about what that book pulled off. I was just like, yeah, it's wild. Read it. It's a thriller, mystery, romance. Like, it's a very weird book. I don't even know what genre to put it into, but like it's a wild ride. And then my last shout out goes to, the first book was Song of the Forever Rains by E.J. Mello, which was great. She's an indie author, self-published through Amazon. So that was the first book. And the second book is what I'm currently reading, which is Dance of the Burning Sea. The second book is about someone who has fire magic on a pirate ship, and it's enemies to lovers, and wow, just good old fantasy romance and good old banter. Amazing. So that's great. And then the other books I'm reading are The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I said that wrong. It's a murder mystery thriller thing. It's really weird. I don't know how I feel about it yet. And then I am reading our January book, The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed. And that's nice. That is my roundup of the last 2 months. Hannah?
All right. I have 3 shout-outs and 3 books I'm currently reading in a nice parallel. I want to shout out The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. Yeah, which the other 2 I've talked about before on this podcast. It's a very good, like, fan family sci-fi book. Also, Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. If you're on, like, Book Talk, you've seen this book everywhere. It's really cute. I still hate the cover, but the book itself is really cute. And the main one is The Vagina Bible by Jennifer Gunter. It's a nonfiction book basically about as many things that can happen to a vagina as possible. I feel like it's a book that is like required reading for anybody who has a vagina, whether it's like one they were born with or one they had surgically created, or someone who wants to have sex with a vagina. So like most people, you should be reading this book. There's good information in there for almost everybody. And then I'm currently reading 1 book in each format, which is kind of fun. Yeah. My audiobook is The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott. It's a Star Wars High Republic novel. And it's a Star Wars audiobook, so like it's amazing to listen to. They're always top notch. They're like audio dramas. They have like the full sound effects and everything. It's amazing. In paper, I've been really taking like the tagline of our podcast to heart, and I've been rereading the Gemma Doyle trilogy by Libba Bray, which is A Great and Terrible Beauty, Rebel Angels, and I'm currently on the 3rd one, which is The Sweet Far Thing. And I'm enjoying it much more than I thought I would, actually. They're still quite interesting and entertaining even as an adult. And then as an ebook, I'm reading Medusa by Jessie Burton, which is a retelling of the Medusa myth with Medusa as like a sympathetic character rather than the villain. So I'm looking forward to reading more about that. And then soon, because it's February, we're all going to be reading Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which is our Midlight Book Club book of the month. So if you want to join in with us in February, give that one a try.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
Neither of you have read Trail of Lightning, right? You haven't read
No.
Rebecca Roanhorse yet?
No.
I love her other series, and I'm really excited for this one.
Okay. It's rated very well. Like, people really like it.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Oh, she's also written a Star Wars book, which is kind of nice. I have that one on my shelf, but I haven't read it yet. Yeah, Resistance Reborn. It's a sequel trilogy setting. So if you'd like to join in on our Midlight Book Club, or if you liked this chapter of Midlight Crisis, consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice. You can talk to us and find fun-related content on social media. We are at Midlight Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and all chapters of the show thus far are available on our website, midlightpod.podbean.com, and on YouTube.
And Eragon, speaking for all of us, pretending to be adults, but mostly Hannah, who bought her first car today. I feel as though I've been thrust into a world with strange rules that no one will explain.
Oh my god. For real, though. How do you buy a car? What's insurance?
So, Hannah, you need to get a void check. You need to call at least 3 different insurance companies. Try to find the one that gives your thing in the university alumni. Blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
You know.
Oh, no.